right, let's try this again. Let's see if it works better this time. All right, so I'm sorry about that, y'all. If y'all just tuning in or you was tuned in, somebody that was watching, one of my favorite members that was watching said the video was lagging or it was kind of cutting that in and out. So I didn't want to get all the way into the lesson and then have to stop it. So I just stopped it and restarted my phone and restarted the video. So hopefully this will get us through this lesson today. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into it because I'm a couple of minutes behind because I had to do that. So appreciate y'all for being here today. My name is John Stewart on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministry, on behalf of sponsored by Revelate Baptist Church. Here to bring y'all a lesson tonight. Of course, it's a continuation of the lesson that we've been going over for a few weeks now. We kind of got away from it for a little while because I went into my testimony and the things I kind of do around that time. It was my testimony time. And I usually share my testimony and share the gospel and share a special message that I put together due to my testimony week. So I was kind of doing that for a few weeks, and then we got back to this lesson last week. It was the first time we got back to it. And of course, the title of the lesson is Success and the Will of God. So last week was the first time we got away from about 2 months, and now we're back to it. And we're over in the first book of Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 9. This is where we will be at. Today, we're going to actually get to finish it up. We should finish up. I got 3 points. So we should definitely get to finish that up today. And we might even dip off into 1 Samuel chapter 10 a little bit, at least the first couple of points of chapter 10, because it also, the first part of chapter 10 also goes along with the same thing, the same theme of success and the will of God. So again, I apologize. I had to stop the video that I was doing earlier. I do apologize. I had to stop that video and restart this one because, again, someone said they was having some technical difficulties, and I didn't know it was on my end or their end. So that's why I stopped the video and restarted it just in case. So if you're watching and it is stopping and stuff, let me know. There you go, Miss Alicia's made it back. Like I said, I stopped it and restarted. So hopefully that'll take care of whatever little problem we was having going on. So again, I appreciate y'all being here tonight. Brother John Stewart on behalf of Lost Sheep Ministry, Revelate Baptist Church, here to bring you a lesson tonight on success and the will of God. And of course, like I said earlier, we've been going through the lesson for quite some time. And I don't really want to rush this lesson, because this is very important. You know, everything that we do, everything we want to do, that our ultimate goal in life should be to be in the perfect will of God. You know, that's the ultimate goal. That's where you want. That's where you're going to find all of your success at. And of course, I'm not going to go back through the intro, but that's kind of what I talked about. You know, we think of success. You know, you have worldly success and you have true success, and true success is found in the will of God. So you want to make sure that you're doing everything you can, making all the right decisions, being around the right people, right places, and doing everything you can to be in the will of God, the perfect will of God. So that's kind of what we was talking about. And if you want to go back and see the lessons we've done so far, this is actually going to be like part 6 to show you how long we've been working on this. So this is part 6. So if you want to go back and see the previous lessons, you watch this lesson tonight and you haven't caught any of the others, you can always scroll up and down on Facebook page and find those lessons, or you can go over to my YouTube channel, God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministries, God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministries, and you can find my channel and you can watch them on there as well, because all the videos have been uploaded. So just real quick, we only made it through 3 points last week. And like I said, we got 3 points again this week to finish out 9. And then I got a few more to go into 10. So we just see how I always say, well, it should end fast and all that, and it never works out. So we're just going to play it by ear. But I do want to bring this message. And again, this message is the reason why I'm taking my time with it. And y'all have heard me preach on the will of God before, is because it's near and dear in my heart. My life didn't change. I wouldn't be where I'm at now. My life changed that moment that I realized that I had been living out of God's will, and I made the decision to get back into God's will. That's when my life completely changed, when I accepted God's will for my life instead of living by my own will. And that's why I want to spend this time. I don't care how many weeks it takes. I want to spend this time going through this lesson piece by piece, trying to emphasize the importance of doing everything you can and giving you the wisdom you need, the mindset you need, the guidance you need, so you'll be able to find God's will for your life, because that's where you're going to find your peace. That's where you're going to find your success. That's where you're going to find your peace and your success, is by being in the will of God. So with that being said, again, I'm jumping to a review real quick. I'm going to do a little short review over the 3 points that we went through last week, and then I'm jumping to the new points that we have for tonight. So last week's lesson, which was number 5, point 1 from last week, which is point 18 in chapter 9. I told you chapter 9 was a long chapter. We got 22 points in this one chapter. So I've been going over it for quite some time. But again, it's vital that you understand the importance of being in the will of God. You know what I'm saying? Being where God wants you to be, because that's the only way you're going to be successful. So number 18 from last week was point 1 from last week, which is point number 18 over the lesson overall, was no, I'm sorry, it was 17. I was on 17 last week, was the first point I did. So 17, number 1 from last week, which was point 17 overall. The point was make his kingdom priority. And I gave you the verse, Matthew chapter 6, verses 24 through 33. But make God's kingdom. If you wanna find his will and stay in his will, you have to make his kingdom your priority. And of course, I think I spent the majority of the time in the lesson that we did last week on that one point. I think I went like 20 and 30 minutes on that point. But again, because it's so important, you gotta make the will of God, the kingdom of God, your priority. It's going to be hard for you to follow the will of God if the kingdom of God is not your priority. And matter of fact, the points that we're going to go over tonight is going to kind of illustrate that. When I give you these points tonight, you're going to understand why it's so important to make the kingdom of God your priority. Because if the kingdom of God is not your priority, it's going to be hard for you to accomplish the things you need to do to be in his will. Because it's hard. It's not easy at all, and there's a lot of work involved. So that's why you got to be careful. That's why you got to make sure that the kingdom of God is your priority. That's the only way you're going to be able to really be able to stay in his will, by making sure that his kingdom is your priority. And I kind of said, be sure the things of God get priority over your time. There should be set amounts of time already blocked out of your day for the things that God wants you to do. If you don't have that set time in your day to do the things that God have for you to do, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get those things done. And I kind of gave you the example of a pizza and how it got all the slices. And what we should do is take God's slices out first, set them aside for God, and then the rest of the day get whatever's left. But a lot of time what we do, we get everything else, give everybody else a slice before we give God his slice. That was kind of the example I used last week. Talked about kind of a little bit about my weekly schedule, how my schedule goes, and how everything is already, pointing out time set aside throughout my whole week is already set aside. There's time set aside every single day for the things that I have to do for God for that week. So again, I gave several other examples, but the point was make the kingdom of God your priority. That's the only reason. That's the only way you're going to really, truly be able to not only find the will of God, but be able to stay in the will of God. Because again, standing in the will of God is a lot of work involved. We're going to kind of talk about that tonight, but there's a lot of work involved. There's a lot of sacrifice involved. So if God's kingdom is not your priority and you want to live a comfortable life and live for this world, it's going to be hard for you to follow the will of God. I'm telling you that right now. So number 17, which was number 1 from last week, was make his kingdom your priority. Number 18, which was number 2 from last week, you are the hope of others. You have to realize that you are the hope of others. There's people in your world that is dependent upon you doing the work that God has for you to do. You know what I'm saying? It's sad to say there's some of y'all out there that's dependent upon me doing these lessons on Monday nights. You know what I'm saying? That get you to the week, get you your spiritual food. I feel sorry for you, but I do appreciate you being here. You know what I'm saying? But there are people, you are the hope of others, and you don't even realize, especially when you take on the mantle of Christian. If you take on that mantle of being a Christian, then you become the hope of others. And it's pretty cool, pretty neat. I preached that point last week, and I actually got to see it come to fruition yesterday. Yesterday I went out to soul winning, like I always do. Not yesterday, Saturday I went out soul winning, and I took a guy. I do drug counseling with some guys in a drug rehab program up here where I stay at. close to where I stay at. And the guy that I'm working with, that's the one thing I always try to get them to do, to go soul winning with me. Because I tell them that's the best way to build your relationship with the Lord, is about soul winning. So he went out soul winning with me yesterday, and we went down to the projects in Jackson. And, we was down there, and we ended up, praise the Lord, it was a great day. Had 5 saved this past Saturday, and we had more time, probably could have had a lot more, but it was 5 saved. It was still a little cool. The wind was blowing, so I wanted as many people out, but it was 5 people saved. And I remember, we got back in the car and we was talking about it, and the guy, he's like, man, he said, I just can't believe that, these people really had no clue about the things of God. They really had no clue. I can tell they really have no clue about God and the things of God and how far they are away from God. He was just amazed at it. And I told him, I said, see, that's why it's important for us to do this every Saturday. This is why it's important when God give you some work to do for his kingdom, to go out and do that work, because there's a lot of people in the world like that. There's a lot of people, they just really have not heard. I know one young lady we talked to, she just really had nobody explain the gospel to her. She just had nobody sit down and actually explain and give her the gospel and tell her what she needed to know. She just always thought that, you're just supposed to go to church and be a good person. She never really knew that it was about hearing the gospel, understanding it, and accepting Jesus Christ as your Savior. So the guy, he was just like, man, I can't believe how they they had no clue at all. Then the darkness they living in and what they going through. I said, man, I said, the sad part is, this is a small, this city ain't even as big as Memphis, or it ain't big as other cities. I said, so it's way more out there. You got to think about, we just saw this many in this one little area. Imagine the world as a whole. I said, that's why it's so important for you to do the work that you do and to get close to the Lord, especially when the Lord give you an assignment, because you are the hope of others. There's 5 young people that was able to get saved yesterday that might have never got saved had we not went down there. And the guy, he was so happy. And like I said, it was a great day. And the Lord was just definitely working. He sent us exactly where we need to be. But it proved my point of this point right here, that you are the hope of others. There's other people in this world who's dependent upon you being obedient to the commands of God and follow his will for your life, so you can bring God to them, so you can bring God into their life, so you can lead them to the Lord. And that's exactly what happened. So it was pretty cool. I was thinking about that, and I told you, I said, man, I just did a lesson on this a week or so ago, talking about how we the hope of others. And the guy, he said, man, he said, I'm honest to believe if we never came across these people, they might have never got saved. And of course we don't know, God could have sent somebody else, or they might have, got saved down the road at a church or something like that, but you don't know. But I know a lot of people we talked to yesterday, they just had no, and some of them, the crazy part was, some had been in church their whole life. Some of them have been in church. I know one lady who talked about, she's like, oh yeah, I was raised in the church and this and that and that. And I asked her what she said. She said, well, my grandma, my mom kind of made me do it, but I never really made the decision for myself. Kind of thing, and never really understood what I need to do to make the decision. And and we shared the gospel with her, and she ended up getting saved. So it's very important when the Lord gives you an assignment, when you know God is giving you something to do, it's very important for you to follow that will, because you do not know whose eternity or physical life may depend on it, but definitely their spiritual life may depend on you doing the things that you know that God has called you to do. So that was number 18 from last week, and point number 2 from last week was, you are the hope of others. There's people in your world that's dependent upon you being obedient and following the will of God, so you may be able to lead them to the Lord. And then number 19, which was the last one that we went over last week, we only got through 3 last week, was number 19, which was point number 3, was the will of God will elevate you to levels you never would have. The will of God will elevate you to levels you never even would have considered possible to obtain. And I just talked about, when you get in the will of God, man, the will of God will take you to places you never imagined that you would go. It would have you doing things that you never imagined you was doing. It will have you around people, good people that you never imagined being around. It would elevate you to levels. And again, I tell y'all, with my position, not only as minister of the lost sheep, but as in my worldly job as a chemist, a head chemist in this $1 billion corporation, one of the head chemists of our plant site of this $1 billion corporation. Never things that I ever would imagine, being a broke kid from sons of 2 crackheads from Memphis. And now I'm in this position, this high position, having an executive position in this $1 billion company. And it's all because I followed the will of God. So that's kind of what we ended with last week, how the will of God will elevate you to levels you never even would have considered to be possible to obtain. But see, you didn't know it, but God knew you had the abilities and the potential to do these things, and that's why he led you down that path, and that's why it's so important for you to follow the will of God. So that was the review. Like I said, just a quick review from last week. Really good points. I thought it was a really good lesson. So if you hearing these they're going through the review, and you're like, man, I would like to see what he said about those, how he elaborate on those. Again, go back and watch the video from last week. It's posted on my Facebook page, or you can go and watch it on my YouTube page at God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministries. Is posted on there as well, and that'll actually probably be the easiest way to catch it. By going, when you want to catch your old lessons, to go to my YouTube page, because there's not as many things that I'm tagged in there. You don't have to scroll through as much. So that was the review from last week, and like I said, we're going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 9. The last few verses is only about 5 verses. Actually, there's only 3 verses left, but there's some good meat in these 3 verses, some good points that's going to come out of these last 3 verses. So if you got your Bibles open, we're going to be in 1 Samuel chapter 9, and we're going to start in verse 25. I'm going and pray so I can get started. Dear Lord, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over today. Thank you so much for shining your love and grace down upon this family and this ministry, and continue to use me and this family and this ministry and this ministry members to do the work that you have for us to do, Lord. Help, and that's the point of this lesson, to help people see how important it is to do what you have for us to do, how important it is to follow your will for our lives, because you're so wonderful and so magnificent, Lord, and you have all these intricate plans and these crosses that we know come across people, and the whole 6 degrees of separation. I mean, it's so much stuff that you have for us to do, and we don't realize how it just get out of your will. It don't necessarily mess up your plans, but it make you have to change your plans, and that's not what you want to do. If we just stay in your perfect will, Lord, everything will work out perfectly, and we will have a world that really have given their heart to you, and will truly be not only willing to, but want to give their heart to serving your purpose, your will, and doing the work you have for us to do, and honoring, glorifying, and praising you, Lord. So I just pray that you be with me as we go through this lesson tonight. Send your spirit down upon me to get my heart and mind ready to present this lesson, Lord, so I can get into this lesson and bring out these truths. Hopefully don't go down no rabbit trails or running my mouth too long, but I do want to really bring this out, because again, this lesson is near and dear to my heart, because it was since that day I made that decision to follow your will, my life has changed completely and for the better, Lord. So I want these people to see how important it is, know how important it is, and know what they need to do so they can start following your will, so they may have that peace in their life as well. So I actually send your spirit down upon the hearts and the minds of all those that are watching this video, Lord. I pray that if they're watching it, they're not distracted. It's not just background noise, but they're really taking into account what's being said and using it and use the wisdom that will be shared here tonight to build a relationship with you, but more importantly, help them find your will for their lives so they can do the work you have for them to do, because we are truly the hope of others when we take on that mantle of Christian. So be with us this session tonight, as always. Guide us in the direction we need to go, and use this time spent here tonight to be with us all, to humble our hearts, and to bring us all closer to you. We love you and thank you for all you've done and given. Say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Some of this H2O. Y'all look at my cup. I bent my cup the other day, so mad. I ran over it, and my assistant, she asked me, like, what happened to your cup? And I told her what happened. She said, oh, man, that's not a cool story. She said, I thought you were going to say that you got upset and crushed it. She said, tell people that's a cool story. So that's what I've been telling people. Like, I thought it was your head, so I squished it. But I actually ran over it. But it's still usable, so I'm still using it. But it's my favorite cup. I was so upset at myself with that. All right, so I'm going to jump into this. Again, 1 Samuel chapter 9, verses 25 is where we're going to be at tonight. If you got your Bible, you follow along. And as always, I always like to put out my little disclaimer. I am a King James believer, wholehearted King James believer, believe in King James, believe it's the true inspired words of God. But my ministry, Lost Sheep Ministry, is for people that's trying to build a relationship with the Lord, or maybe just starting a relationship with the Lord. And sometimes, if you don't have the Spirit working through you just yet, it's hard to understand the King James. So this is why I read out the New Living Translation. Not being a heretic at all. It's just that I want to help my people really understand what's being said. But I read both versions, so that if there's something that needs to be translated or read out the King James, I will read it, which actually our first point I'm going to read out the King James because the way they translate it kind of takes away from what I want the point to be. But I am a King James believer, not being a heretic. Just want my people to be able to understand. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into this lesson. The first point of the night is found in 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 25. The Lord tells us this. So he says, I forgot, let me catch you up to where we are in the story. So, of course, we know Saul, the people of Israel went to Samuel, told him that they want a king, even though God was supposed to be their king. They told Samuel that they wanted a king, and of course Samuel was upset at first, and then the Lord told him, like, go ahead and get him a king. It's not you that are rejecting, it's me that are rejecting. Then situation happened where Saul's dad lost some of his donkeys, and he sent Saul to go look for him. And while Saul was out there, just the way things worked out, he ended up coming across Samuel. And Samuel ended up, and the Lord showed Samuel that Saul was the one that he wanted to anoint as king. So we're right here where we left off at was right as Samuel, like Saul, he was out looking for the donkeys for a little while. They couldn't find him. He had a servant with him that told him, hey, there's a man of God in this town. Let's go find him. Give him, his servant had like just a little piece of money. It wasn't much. He's like, let's go offer this to the man of God, and maybe he can tell us where these donkeys are at that we're looking for. And so we had the situation where they finally came across Samuel, and Samuel and Saul met. So when they first met, they met him. Samuel was on his way to the sacrifice, which he had already set up for Saul, for Saul's arrival, and he just telling Saul, hey, go ahead and go to the sacrifice. We're going to go eat, and then we can talk later on. So this is after the sacrifice. They went to the sacrifice, they've had their dinner, and now they get ready to retire for the night, and that's where we at. And now he's about to tell him what God has in store for him. So with that being said, again, 1 Samuel chapter 9, verse 25, the Lord tells us this. So he says, so after the feast, when they had returned to the town, Samuel took Saul up to the roof of the house and prepared a bed for him there. Now, right there, like I said, I'm going to read the King James version on that because the way, now he did prepare a bed for him up there, but they left out something that's very vital. The way they translated it, they left this out, and this is going to actually be where my point is going to come from. So the King James version says, and when they were come down from the high place into the city, Samuel communed with Saul upon the top of the house. So he didn't not only did he just set a bed up there, he took him up there to talk to him. So in other words, number 20, which is going to be our first point for the night, which is number 20 for the lesson overall. Number 20, if this is going to help you with finding the will of God and also standing in the will of God. Everything I'm trying to give you, I'm telling you how this can help you. This can help you find the will of God, and this will help you stay in the will of God. So number 20, which is our first point for the night, is this. Have a place where you meet with God. Have you a place where you meet with God? Have you a designated place where you meet with God? That is so important. Y'all remember in a point from last week, I said, have you a set time? I think that was point number 17. I read it just a second ago. I think that was number 17 was have you a set time to meet with God. Make the kingdom of God priority. And then one of the things I said was make sure you have you some set time, set you some time aside to meet with God. And just as important, have your place. So you need to have your place and a time that you meet with God. You know what I'm saying? Have you, I don't know if y'all ever see, there was this movie came out, this Christian movie came out some years ago. One of my favorite movies is one of those good ones. Because some of them come out, and I'm be 100% with y'all, I'll be real with y'all. Some Christian movies come out and they be so lame, the acting be so horrible, and the writing just it's so predictable. It's hard to really enjoy it. I know I watch it anyway, but it'd be hard to enjoy it. But then the song come out, they're just fire. And this is one of those, it was called War Room. And, it's just the older black lady, she do a lot of the Christian movies. She was in there and she was just instructing this young lady on, that she need to get into a prayer more. She need to have her a war room, which is a place set aside for her to go pray and go meet with God. Matter of fact, y'all might have heard me say this before. This is where we at right now. This place that I'm broadcasting live to y'all right now is my war room. This is my war room. This is my office. I finally had enough of my kids move out the house where we was able to have an extra room, and I made it to my war room. That way I can come in here and I can close the doors and shut all the outside world out and meet with God. That's very important that you have that. You got to have a place where you can get away from all the distractions. This world is always pulling you in so many directions. I know Miss Alicia, you on here. I know that grandson keep you, like you said, keep you tired, keep you wound up. But you gotta have your place where you can meet with God, a time and a place to meet with God. That's very important, because if you go through the Bible, you look at a lot of the prophets and a lot of the main characters of the Bibles, a lot of the guys that have done mighty things for the Lord. They met the Lord in a certain place. The Lord told them, hey, go here, meet me here. Go here and do this. You remember Abraham? He told him, go here, go to this place and uproot your family and go to this place. And Abraham didn't even know where to go. He said, just start going, and I'll tell you where you need to be when you get there, kind of thing. But he had a place. So it's so important that you have that place. Just as you have set time set aside to meet with God, have a place set aside to meet with God as well. You know what I'm saying? You got to be, like I said, this is my ward, this is my office. And that was the one thing, y'all know, I've talked about, I'm having to move. And thank y'all for the prayers. I want to announce that as well, testify. Thank y'all for the prayers. We had to be out by the end of next month. And up until last week, man, we hadn't been able to find anything. We had really no options, and really didn't know what I was going to do. But I've been praying on it, and I've been having y'all pray for me. And finally, we came through and got approved for a place. And the thing is, though, the places that we're finding are smaller than what we have. So I was really concerned about not having my place, not having my office where I can do my videos peacefully and meet with the Lord. I'm really concerned about that. And the one place we got is a smaller house, because it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, or now we stand in basically a 5-bedroom, 2-bathroom place. But it has the laundry room that's huge enough that I can, I can squeeze in there and have me an office, so I can still have my little space. And and that was honestly, that was when I went to the house. My wife, they were looking at the rooms, and my daughters, they were looking at the rooms, the size of the rooms, and the bathrooms, all that. That wasn't even my concern. When I was going into the house, the first thing I was looking for, am I gonna have a spot so I can do my ministry, so I can have me a war room. That was the first thing I looked at. Matter of fact, when we was thinking about buying a house, that's what we was looking at. We was looking at getting one big enough to where I can have me a space, because it's very important to have that space, to have that place where you meet with the Lord. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying I sit here and God's sitting here waiting on me to walk into my room, but I'm pretty sure this is, if he looking anywhere in my house, he's keeping his eyes on this room, because he knows this is where I go when I want to meet with him. Whenever I come through these doors, 9 times 10, if I'm not doing that, I also do my budget here. This is what, like I said, is my office. So basically anything I do in here. But most of the time I'm in this room, I'm doing something for God. I'm either preparing these lessons, I'm either preaching this lesson, or I'm praying, or I'm reading my Bible. All that goes on in this spot here. This is my war room. So you got to have your war room. And again, God has blessed me beyond measure to where I had enough, got a big enough house to have that. And you might not have that. You might not have a big house. You might, I know Miss Alicia, you stay in apartments. You might have just a 1-bedroom apartment or something like that. And if you by yourself, then it's fine. Your whole apartment could be your war room. But if you're not by yourself, you got roommates or something like that. It don't have to be a room. It just got to be a place. Have you a spot where you meet with the Lord. Before I had this room, what my war room was? It was my vehicle. That's what I would do. When I needed time to read my Bible, when I needed time to pray, I would just go out and sit in my car. I would go sit in my vehicle. And I would just sit there and roll the windows up. The kids and everybody be in the house. I'd be out in my vehicle. That was my war room. And matter of fact, it still kind of is now, because every morning on my way to work, I got about a 10-minute drive to work. And you know what I do? I used to listen to the radio. There was a morning show that used to come on. I used to like to listen to that. It was a little morning show that used to come on. But now I spend that time talking to God. So that little 10, 15-minute drive to work, depending on how fast I'm driving that day, I use that time to talk to God. That's my war room. As I'm driving down the road, I'm talking to God. You know what I'm saying? And then when I get to work, I have just a couple of weeks ago, they gave me my own office. Like I said, God moving your boy up. You know what I'm saying? Moving on up. I never imagined having my own office. So a couple of weeks ago, I got my own office. So now, sometimes like if I get to work and I'm not done praying or saying what I need to say to the Lord to start the day, when I go and get to work, I go into my office, I finish up my prayer. That's my war room. So it don't have to be necessarily a huge space, a huge room, but just have it needs to be a designated place that I'm gonna have. This is where I'm gonna talk to the Lord at. You know, it can be a closet. You can take, you know, maybe you got a closet that's just full of junk that you really don't use. You know what I'm saying? And it's enough space. It's big enough where you can get in there and you can maybe, you know what I'm saying, put you a prayer mat in there or something like that. Then make that your war room. It don't have to be a huge place. It don't have to be fancy, but it's the intent behind it that brings the power into your life. Let God know, Lord, this is all I got is this little 2x4 closet. That's all I got. That's the only space I have free in my house or in my apartment that I have. Lord, I'm gonna make that. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna dedicate that room to me meeting you. That's what it is, the intent behind it. You know what I'm saying? If you got a light in there, put you a little light in there or something. Get you a little lamp and put it in there. But have you a place. It's so important that you have your place where you and God can meet and you can hear the Lord clearly. You can just zone out the world, zone out everything else. And that's what I do. I come here now. The doors on this house that we live in is pretty thin. So I can still hear, matter of fact, a lot of time before I get started, I'm pretty sure y'all can hear my daughters, talking and my wife in there talking. Sometimes you hear the TV going, you hear them walk by. So it's real thin. So now what I do is I come in, I close the door, and then I have like some ocean sounds that I play on my phone, that I have on my phone. It's just the sound of the ocean, but it's basically just white noise. And I just put it on and cut it up loud as it can, and it drowns out all the noise in there. And see what I'm doing, I'm trying to get to a place where it's shutting out that I can shut out the outside world and it's just me and God. You need to be alone with God. When you trying to hear things from God, when you're trying to follow the will of God, you need to have time where you're alone with God, where the world ain't bothering you. You know what I'm saying? When you're not distracted, cut them phones off. Cut them phones off. Now I use my phone when I'm doing it, because like I said, I have the white noise. But you know what I'm saying? If my phone rings, I decline. I don't even try to see who it is. I just look and decline it. I just decline it. I mean, I see who it is because when I decline it, because I have to see the button. But I mean, I'm not tempted to answer it because this is my God time right now. Matter of fact, when I do these lessons, sometimes I forget to do it, but when I get ready to do these lessons, I put my phone on silent. So that way I'm not being interrupted when I'm sitting here trying to talk to you guys. You know, you got to have that time, not only that time set aside, you got to have that place set aside. You know what I'm saying? You got to have that place set aside where you can meet the Lord, so the Lord can be looking forward to it. You know, he's looking, oh man, he went in the room yet today. You know, and make sure and once you got the place, you use the place. You know, it ain't no good you having a place and you don't use the place. You got a place set up, but you never go in there. Like I said, have you some set time in your day every day and have your set place that you meet with the Lord. And you never know, you might walk in there one day and he be sitting there waiting on you. Yeah, I knew it was our time. I knew where you gonna be at 7:00 on Monday night. I knew you were gonna be over in your room. I was sitting here waiting for you to get here. Well, actually, I get here a little earlier because I had to sit down and get set up and stuff. Actually, I was running late today, so I got here just in time to get started today. But you know what I'm saying? You just never know. The Lord might show up. Have your place because it's very important. That's how you get the power of God in your life. That's how you show God that you are serious about following his will. You are serious about giving your heart to him. You are serious about doing the work you have for him to do. And if he see you serious, man, not only do you have a time set up, you got your own little place set aside to meet with him. He's like, this servant is serious. And he's going to show up and he's going to show you what you need to do. He's going to show you where you need to be. And he's going to, 9 times out of 10, he's going to meet you in that place. That's where he's going to meet you at. You got to have a place. Just some of the examples from the Bible I'm thinking about, and I talk about them all the time because it's just one of my favorite examples of the Bible is the book of Daniel. You think about Daniel. Daniel had him a place where he met with God on a regular basis. Matter of fact, his place, and he met with God so regular, and his place was so known that not known like he just broadcasted, but he was so. What word am I looking for? I don't want to look dedicated or. I'm having a brain fart on the word, but he was so dedicated. I guess I used the word dedicated to going to his place and meet with the Lord that it got to a point where people that was hating on him, try to get him in trouble, try to get him killed. They knew the way to get him was they were going to find him in his place doing what he doing, praying. Because y'all remember the story of Daniel, because the people that was hating on Daniel told the king, hey, why don't you make a decree that nobody should be able to pray unless they praying to you. And, you know, of course, King, he a man, he prideful. Oh, that sounds like a good idea. Make him feel like he's somebody special. Yeah, nobody can pray unless they praying to me. You know, and what did it say when they said, I think the punishment was if anybody prayed to anybody other than him, then they was going to be thrown in the lion's den. You know, so then he signed it, sent the proclamation out, and of course, you know, not to retell the story, but you know, once it was signed, it couldn't be taken back. And as soon as Daniel heard of the proclamation, as soon as he heard the king had made that proclamation, what was the first thing he did? He went to his place. The first thing he did, he went to his place and prayed like he always did. It said he went to his place, opened up his windows toward the east, and prayed as usual. And if you look at the wording around that, you can see that that was something he did all the time. Every single day, that was something he did every single day, probably multiple times a day. So, like I said, he was so dedicated, so consistent in it that the guys that were trying to hate on him, try to set him up, they knew the way to get him. Because they knew that at this certain time, in this certain place, he was going to pray. Because when he went to pray, what did it say? It said they was gathered outside his windows, looking in his window. Oh, there you go. I knew it. I knew it's 7 o'clock. He be in there praying, and he praying. Let's go tell the king. You see what I'm saying? Let's go tell the king. He in there praying. He ain't supposed to be praying to nobody other than the king. Hating on him, trying to get him. But what happened? They went and told the king. The king, of course, the king didn't want to throw the man in the lion's den because he knew he was a man of God. But unfortunately, he put his foot in his mouth, made that stupid proclamation. So he had to throw Daniel in a den with the lions. But what happened? Because Daniel had his place that he met with God every day, because Daniel had his set aside time that he met with God every day, guess what? When Daniel was in the place that he wasn't supposed to be, guess what? God met with him. God showed up. So when the king came the next morning and said, Daniel, did your God that you serve continually? That's what he said. That's what he said. You got to look at the word. That's why I love that story of Daniel, because it shows you the character of Daniel and why God blessed him the way he did. He said, Daniel, your God who you serve continually, was he able to save you? And then Daniel said, praise the king, may you live forever. He said, yeah, my God came and he shut the mouths of those lions because he knew I was innocent. Because he knew all I was doing was what I was supposed to do, using my time in my place to praise him. So he knew I was innocent. So when the king said, bring Daniel out of there. So they took Daniel out, and then the king said, because he knew the dudes that hated on Daniel, and they were trying to get him to kill Daniel. So he said, go grab them and their families, and throw them in there. So Daniel had been in the lion's den all night, came out, didn't have one scratch on him. But when they threw these dudes and their families in, they said their bodies didn't even touch the ground before the lions ripped them apart. They didn't even have enough time to hit the ground and maybe try to run and escape. It said as soon as they tossed them in there, the lions leaped upon them and ripped them apart. It said their bodies didn't even touch the ground. Could you imagine that? You know what I'm saying? So why was Daniel protected and those other people wasn't protected? Because Daniel had him a place. He had him a place that he met with God every day. He had him a time that he met with God every day. And these dudes trying to hate on him because of that. And that's what the world is going to do. When you start setting aside some time to meet with God, when you start setting aside, you have your place set aside to meet with God, the world going to try to make you feel like an idiot. It's going to try to make you feel like a fool for doing so. And you don't realize if you let them convince you that you're done for doing so, you're losing out on that power. See, Daniel knew how important it is. So even though his life was in danger, because the king said, if you pray to anybody other than me, then you're going to be thrown in the lion's den. And Daniel knew that, and yet he still went to his place because he had an appointment to keep. He had a time set aside, and he had the place that he was going to be at, meeting with the Lord. And because he did that, the Lord protected him. That's how you get God's grace in your life, because he was in the will of God. He knew he had his set time to go pray, his set place to go pray. See what I'm saying? So that's why I'm saying, man, have you a place. Have you some time set aside where you meet with God every day, and have you a place set aside that you can go meet with God, that you can get away from this world. You know, if you can help it, like I said, I can't help it. I don't live by myself. I got too many kids here and running around and bumbling around. So I have to bring my phone in here with me so I can cut on my ocean sounds and have my noise. But if you can help it, man, leave that phone out of there. When you go into your place, don't take that phone there with you. Because the moment you do, the devil going to try to call and have you do some stuff. Like I said, even when I'm doing here, that's why I have to put my phone on silent when I'm doing this preaching. People be trying to call me while I'm preaching. I'm trying to do God's word. So if you can leave the phone out of there, don't take the phone in there with you, but have you a place. Like I said, if you can't afford to have a room like I got, but God has blessed me, be able to have a whole room that I can dedicate to doing His word. Like I said, just go to your car. Go to your car. If you ain't got a car, you staying somewhere. I know you got a closet. Take all them shoes and that you don't wear and all them clothes you don't wear and throw that crap out and clean out that closet and put you a mat in there and you go get in your closet and pray. If you just staying somewhere where all you got is your room and your closet, make your closet your place. Get you some of them racks that you can build for hangers and hang your clothes on the rack and clean that closet out and make that closet your place. But either way it go, have your place. Because we see from Daniel how important it is to have a place. You know what I'm saying? You remember with Moses. You remember when the Lord called Moses to go do the work that he would do? What did he tell him? Go up on my mountain and be there. He said, go up on the mountain and be there. See, he didn't, and none of the Israelites couldn't come with him. Even Aaron couldn't come with him. And Aaron was the Lord's chosen high priest. But whenever the Lord wanted to talk to Moses, he wanted Moses. He didn't want everybody else to be with Moses. He wanted Moses. And that's what you got to do. You got to have a personal relationship with the Lord yourself. When the Lord is looking for you, he's looking for you. He's not looking for you and your kids and your brother and all that. He's not looking to talk to everybody. He wants to talk to you. And that's why you notice when Moses went up and got the 10 Commandments, he had one to serve. He had Joshua go with him, but Joshua only went with him to a certain point. He left Aaron in the camp to be in charge of the camp. But even with Joshua, he said, all right, you come up here. You keep the horses and all this stuff here. I'll be back. And he left and he went up on top of that mountain by himself. And he was up there for 40 days, 40 nights, just him and God. See, he got to a place where he was able to hear God clearly. And if you don't have you some time set up aside of your day, if you don't have you a place to go and meet with God, then you're not going to be able to hear God, because the distraction of this world is going to always be calling on your phone, always ringing. Your Instagram or your Facebook or your Snapchat is always sending you notifications. Turn that crap off. Get away from the world and get into a spot where you can be with God. You know what I'm saying? Even in public, you can have your place. Like I said, sometimes I'm out in public. Sometimes I go to I got a son that he has some mental issues, so I have to go, take him to doctor's appointment and stuff, because my wife just started working recently. So sometimes I have to take him to his doctor's appointment. And sometimes y'all know how I hate doctor's appointments. It's the worst waste of time ever, because they have you sit there for 2 hours just to be in the room for 5 minutes. But let's say you're in a situation like that, where you just somewhere waiting, and you in a public place and you somewhere waiting on somebody. You're going to be there for an hour or two. Guess what? You can meet with God there. If you got keep you some headphones, which I keep I got a book bag that I keep my God supply, what I call my God supplies in. I keep my Bible with me at all times, and I keep some headphones with me at all times. So if I'm ever in a spot like that where I need to go have me a place to meet with God, you know what I do? I take out my phone. Like I said, I go to my YouTube video of the ocean sound, the white noise. I put my headphones in, crank it up, and I put it in my ears, and I drown out the world. And just even though I'm in public, I still go to where I have a place where I can just hear God. I drown out all the noises and everything else that's going on in the background, and I just focus on hearing God. And that's what you got to do. You got to get you a place. You got to get you a time and a place where it's just you and God, so you can really hear God. You are not going to be able to hear God amongst the noise and the chaos and the drama that goes on in your life on an everyday basis. You're not going to be able to hear God over those things. Those things that scream louder than God. That's why the bad dude always get the attention. The loudest person in the room always get the attention. They screaming over the good people. A lot of times, you know what I'm saying, the good dudes get passed over because they're not loud enough. The bad dudes, the ones always talking loud and causing havoc. And those are the ones that get the attention. So, and that's what they do. Is try to get your attention, try to pull you away from God. This world is constantly trying to pull you away from God. That's why they make everything so convenient for you. That's why you got the whole world on your phone. You know what I'm saying? That's why you spend hours on your phone watching TV shows and playing on Instagram and Snapchat and all that stuff, because it wants to pull you away from God. Get you a place. Have your time and have your place where you can just meet with you and God, so you can start hearing God clearly and God can start guiding you in your life. If you're having problems in your life right now, you can't understand what you need to be doing, you don't understand where your life needs to be going, and you wonder why, it's 9 times 10 because you don't have your place where you just meet with God. So sober-minded, just you, God, and that's it. And you meet there and you pour your heart out to God. And I know God listens. And if you get in that place and you do that on a regular basis, then God will pour his heart out to you. He will tell you what he wants you to do. He will help you find his will for your life. But you got to get along with him. Put the distractions aside. Put this world to the side, man. Get away from this world. I have to get away from this world every single day. I have to spend time in my Bible every single day. Because if you don't, it's going to drive you crazy. It's going to drive you insane. Because this world is a terrible, horrible, insane place. And if you don't disconnect from this world at least once a day, it will drive you insane. You know what I'm saying? It will be overwhelming. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I have this is my war room right here. I have my time that I get away. And even though I'm preaching right now, this is still not my time. Once I get through this service tonight, I'm going to go eat dinner with my family, because that's dinner. By the time I get done, it's time for us to eat. I eat with them, put the kids in the bed, and then I come back here and I spend my time with the Lord, where I disconnect from the world, from my family, from everybody. You know what I'm saying? I get to a place and I have a time and a place where it's just me and God. And if you don't have that in your life, if you don't do that on a regular basis, if you're not doing it every day, it's really going to be hard for you to find the will of God for your life. And if you can't find the will of God for your life, it's going to really be hard for you to be successful, because that's where true success comes from, following the will of God for your life. So number 20, have you a place where you meet with God. You know, just as you have a place, the time that you meet with God, you have your place where you can meet with God, a place where you can just, where you and God, a place where it can be just you and God, so you can hear him clearly. As long as you got everything else going on in the background, you're never going to be able to clearly hear the Lord. Get you a place, separate from this world, spend you some time with God, and God will show you his will for your life. So that was number 20, which is now the first point of tonight. Number 1 for the night, but number 20, the overall lesson, have you a place where you meet with God. So then the next line, so that's what it was. So again, it goes back to, that's what Samuel did. You know what I'm saying? He didn't stay down there. He didn't talk to him up on the hill where everybody else was at. He didn't talk to him down there in the bottom of the house where everybody else was there. He took him to the roof where it can be just him and Samuel, him and Saul, and that way they was able to connect, and the message can be conveyed clearly. So again, have you a place. That was number 20. So then the next line, it says, so at daybreak the next morning, Samuel called up to Saul, "Get up. It's time. You are on your way." So Saul got ready, and he and Samuel left the house together. Number 21. This is one right here. I think this point right here is very important. All of them is important. But this one right here, I think this next point and this next action is the reason why most people don't have a closer relationship with God. This is why most people that I come across don't have a close relationship with God. And that is number 21 is this. Number 2 from tonight, but number 21 is this. Be willing and ready to do the work. That's why most people don't have the blessings of God in their life. They're not willing to do the work. Something you got to understand about the will of God. You know what I'm saying? This is going to help you stay in his will. And this is going to help you stay in his will, because whenever you think about the will of God, you think, I'm going to do the will of God, I'm going to go toward the will of God. This is something you're going to have to understand. If you're going to do the will of God, there's going to be some work involved. You're going to have to work. There's no way around it. You know, there is going to be some work involved. And that's what a lot of people fall short on getting the grace of God in their life, because they don't want to do the work. Now, y'all have heard me say this statement before, and I stand by it to the day I die. Everybody wants the grace of God. Everybody wants the grace of God. Like I said, you know, when you eating food, you have food because of the grace of God. You know, a place to stay because of the grace of God, a job because of the grace of God. You know, you're able to breathe and walk because of the grace of God. Everybody wants God's grace, but nobody really wants to do the work it takes to have God's grace in their life. Everybody wants the blessings. They don't want to do the work it takes to have the blessing. That's why, yeah, you might be alive, you may be eating, you know what I'm saying, you may be barely squeaking by, but that's the problem, you barely squeaking by. You know what I'm saying? Your life can be so much better than where it's at if you're willing to put in the work to do so. You know what I'm saying? Make the sacrifices it takes. Get away from those negative things in your world that you don't need in your world that's holding you back from having a relationship with God. Do those things that you know God wants you to do. But the thing is, 9 out of 10, the thing that God wants us to do is not the things that we want to do. And that's a lot of time is the problem. That's why we don't want to do that work. So you can't claim to want to be in the will of God. You know what I'm saying? You can't claim to want to be in the will of God if you don't have the works to show that you're trying to be in the will of God. This right here, this video, this y'all are witnessing my work as we talk about it. This is me working. You know You know what I'm saying? This is not something I'm doing so I can get into heaven. This is not something I'm doing because I think I'm better than y'all or to make myself feel special. This is me doing my work. This is me doing the part of the assignment that I have, which is to be the minister of the lost sheep. You know, telling you guys what you need to know, or you guys and girls what you need to know so you can have a closer relationship with the Lord. Telling you what you need to know so you can have the grace of God in your life. Telling you what you need to know so you can have true peace in your life. This is my work. See, so, you know, I remember there was a statement that pastors made, and you probably heard it if you ever been to church, and you probably heard a pastor say it before. You know what I'm saying? Especially with today's climate, you can tell that there's a lot of persecution of Christians, and it's going to keep getting worse. It's going to keep getting worse. Everything that Christians stand for is under persecution today. You know, so if it got to a point, you know, ask yourself this: if it got to a point where it was illegal for you to be a Christian, and they took you to court, would they have enough evidence to convict you of being a Christian? In other words, will you have enough works to show that you are definitely a Christian? Do you have that work? Or will you be able to get off scot-free because you don't live or do the work that a Christian would do at all? You see what I'm saying? There's some work involved. It's hard for you to say that I want to be in the will of God, but yet you have no works. You're not going out telling people about the Lord. You're not, you know what I'm saying? You're not reading your Bible like you're supposed to. You're not having some Bible studies. You're not out there passing out tracts. It's hard for me to believe that you truly want to be in the will of God if you don't have, because if you really want to be in the will of God, your works will show that. That's why I'm on here, you know what I'm saying, 2 hours on Mondays. And again, I've told y'all, not only, if I'm here preaching y'all for 2 hours, you got to take the hour and a half in consideration that I spend putting the lesson together as well. You know, doing my research, getting my Bible verses mapped out. You know, so it's a lot of work. You know, this right here, it comes together for maybe an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes. But in reality, it's about 2, 3 hours, 4 hours worth of work goes into preparing this. And not only preparing it, but bringing it to you. This is my work. See, if you really want to be in the will of God, your work is going to show your actions. And when I say work, it's your actions. The things you do on a daily basis is going to show that you really want to be in the will of God. Like I said, you know, I've told y'all before, y'all heard me say it 1,000,000 times, and I say it 1,000,000 times again. You know, it's 3 things that I do every day. I pray every day. I read my Bible every day. I look for opportunity to tell people about God every day. Those are works. Those are my works. You know what I'm saying? Those are not the things that give me to heaven. Those are the work to show that I really have my faith in the Lord. So it's hard for me to believe that you're doing the will of God, you want to be in the will of God, and you don't have no work to show for it. You know what I'm saying? You still spending every day sitting around smoking weed or drinking or playing video games, spending 4, 5, 6 hours watching football games and the pre-show and the halftime show like you ain't got nothing to do. Because I'm going to tell you something about the work of God, the will of God. Is always something to do. There's always something to do in the will of God. There's really no time off. And I'm not saying that you just got to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but there's always something that you can be doing to build God's kingdom. There's so much work to be done because there's not a lot of people working. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, Jesus said over when he was talking to his disciples, he told them, he said, pray for the harvest. Pray to the master of the harvest that he'll send out more workers, because the harvest is plenteous, but the workers are few. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of work to do because nobody is doing the work. Everybody wants the benefits of the work being done. You know, everybody like to get their paycheck at the end of the week, that big fat paycheck at the end of the week, but nobody want to put in that 20, 30 hours of overtime to get that big fat paycheck. They want the paycheck without doing the work. That's how it is with God. You know what I'm saying? We want the blessings that God has for us. We want the peace, and we want the grace of God on our life, and we want God to protect us from everything. We want God to, you know what I'm saying, to make our life so wonderful. But we don't even want to do the work it takes for us to be able to do so, for him to give us the grace to be able to do so. You know what I'm saying? There's some work involved. There's always some work involved. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, me, I want to be a servant. That's the highest level of closer to the Lord. You got your Christian, you know, you got your Christian, your baby Christian, carnal Christian, you got your good Christians, and then you got your servant. You know, and that's what I want to be. I want to be a servant. So when you're a servant, then there's really no days off, no time off. Now, don't get it twisted. That don't mean I'm up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week doing stuff. You know, I have my rest periods. I mean, most of my days go normal. But there's a possibility when I give your whole heart to God, when you give your whole heart to serving God, there is a possibility that you might not get to sleep tonight because somebody need to hear the word. You know what I'm saying? There is a possibility that you might not make it home tonight, not because something bad happened, but because you got into a conversation that I can tell you how many times it's happened to me. Got into a conversation with somebody, and I end up getting to have stand up. I remember this one time. I was talking to this kid from MTSU. I met this kid at MTSU, just happened to be he was from Memphis, so we kind of just had that little bond there. And he had an issue that one time he was going to this church, and he's like, man, he said, I'm going to church because I'm with this girl. I'm going to this church, and he called me. It was about like 10 o'clock at night. I never forget it. It was right when I first moved up to where I'm at now. And he called me, and I could tell his heart was heavy. He said, man, I hate to call you so late. He said, I got something going on. I'm like, what's going on? He said, man, you was always telling me about getting in church, so I'm going to get in church. How you doing, Miss Tanya? I'm glad you made it in here. I appreciate you being here. Better late than never. But this guy was like, he said, I'm going to church, man. He said, I found a good church. I'm going to church with the girl I'm with. She really loved this church, been going for a while. She said, the preacher is good. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, so I'm thinking like, what's the issue? He said, but there's a problem. I'm like, what's the problem? He said, it's a gay church. And I'm like, what do you mean a gay church? He's like, man, the preacher is gay. Just about the whole congregation is gay. They even got like a gay Bible. And he's like, man, I just don't feel right with it. You know what I'm saying? I just don't feel like that's right. And it was a reason, because that goes against the Bible. Not the gay people don't supposed to be in the church, but to have a gay church and have a Bible where they actually took verses out to make them feel good about this thing that they was doing. You know what I'm saying? So me and this guy got to talking, y'all, and like I said, he called me about 10 o'clock, and it was like 6:30 that morning. And I had to be at work the next morning, like 8 o'clock. So it was like 6:30 the next morning that we were still on the phone. Matter of fact, I told her, like, man, bro, I got to get ready for work. You know, like, I got to get ready for work. I got to cut this, cut this off. You know what I'm saying? Good dude, though, you know what I'm saying? And it was a great conversation. And we just talked about not only that, but a lot of other stuff. My point being, I didn't get to sleep that night. Now, thank God I'm in a position where when I got to work, you know what I'm saying, we didn't have a lot going on. So I just, I went to work and I got the little stuff cleared out that we need to get cleared out. And I was able to take a half a day, and I just went home and went to sleep. But my point is, you know what I'm saying, you just never know when you're serving God. You never know when God going to call you to do that work. So there's always something that you need to be doing. There's always some work to be done, because there's not a lot of people doing that work. You know, another situation, I had a guy from my church that, you know what I'm saying, for like the first 2 years I was here, every time we put out a prayer request, this guy was always praying for his son to get saved. Man, I pray my son get saved. I pray my son get saved. I mean, every single time I pray my son get saved, pray my son get saved. And it was about 2 years before I learned how to, you know what I'm saying, go soul win and tell people the gospel and all that stuff. So something just here, like, man, you think your son would be willing to talk to me? Because it was 2 or 3 other people from the church that had talked to his son previously, you know, and his son just wasn't trying to hear it. I said, well, you think you can arrange a meeting when I can talk to him? And he said, well, I can. He said, the only thing is, he said, my son worked second shift, so he works from like 3 in the evening to like 12 o'clock at night. He said, so the only way you're going to catch him is if you catch him at like 1 o'clock in the morning. You know what I'm saying? So I like, bet. So it just so happened, I had a vacation coming up, so sleep, you know, when I'm on vacation, that's all I do is sleep in anyway. So it's not an issue of me staying up to 1 o'clock in the morning. You know, so set up the meeting, went and met with his son, 1 o'clock in the morning, and at 3:30 that morning, his son bowed his head and asked the Lord to save his soul. You see what I'm saying? So again, there was another night, I was up the whole night. I didn't get any rest that night. Why? Because there was work to be done. See, that's what it takes to really get the grace of God in your life. You want to get the blessing of God, be willing to do that. It ain't too many people that be willing to stay up to 1 o'clock in the morning to go talk to somebody about Jesus. You know, it ain't too many people that'll be willing. Now, that one I had a little time to prepare for. I knew that the meeting was set up, but the one with the guy, James, I didn't know. He called me at like 10 o'clock. I'm thinking I'm going to just chat it up with him for a couple of minutes to go to bed. We talked for 8.5 hours, and then I still had to go to work the next day. See, it's always something to do. And like I said, I'm not saying that God going to have you working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but there is a possibility that he could. It's that much work to be done. So you got to be willing. You can't be laying around sleeping all day. You can't be getting high and drunk and popping pills and doing coke and meth every day if you're going to be in the will of God. It's not going to work. Now, I told y'all before, that's why I gave up weed finally. You know what I'm saying? Even though I really, in my heart of heart, don't believe weed is evil. I don't believe it comes from the devil like they say it do. My Bible say God created everything, and God created the plants. So how can it be from the devil if God created it? But anyway, you know, so I was on it for a while, but 6 years ago, finally gave it up. Because even though, you know, I might wait till the end of the night to blaze up, you know what I'm saying? Once I'm high, and it ain't too many times I'm going to be willing to talk about the things of God once I'm high. You know, and I realized that I can never just say that, oh, at the end of the night, I'm going to be able to smoke and I'll be fine. Because like I said, you never know you're going to get that call. So I gave it up. I was willing to make that sacrifice because I never know. I hate to be high and then God's even called to do some work and I can't go into work because I'm high. You see what I'm saying? There's some work to be done. There's always some stuff to be done. You know, always some work to be done. Y'all know I talk about it all the time. I go soul winning every Saturday. Rain, see the snow. Every Saturday I go soul winning. Rain, see the snow. And I've only, like, now when I first started, if it was raining, you know, I would use the excuse, oh man, it's raining today. I ain't gonna go out today. You know, it's raining today. I ain't gonna go out today. But, you know what I'm saying? Now, I don't care what it is. Rain, sleet, snow. I'm going out soul winning because there's work to be done. You know what I'm saying? I'll be out there. I remember we led some people to the Lord one time. And I mean, it was freezing. I remember, I ain't gonna lie though, it's been a couple times when I've been out there and been cold, and I was like, man, these folks go to hell. Forget that. It's too cold to be out here talking about some Jesus. They just go to hell. You know what I'm saying? It'd be warmer than what it is now. It was a couple times I felt like that. I know one time I was so winning in St. Louis, Missouri, and it was not St. Louis, it was in Missouri. I can't remember what state we was in, Canton or something like that. But man, I mean, it was like 8 degrees. And it felt like my blood was freezing in my hands. And I was like, man, forget these folks, they can go to hell. But rain, sleet, or snow, I'm out there. You know what I'm saying? I've seen people like, man, you out here in this weather, you know what I'm saying? Storms, lightning, all that. Yeah, I'm out here. Why? It's work to be done. It's work to be done. The devil don't take time off. So why should I? You know what I'm saying? You go out there and you see these Mormons knocking on the doors telling people about Jesus all the time. They don't take no time off, and they don't even have the right Jesus they believe in. Same with the Jehovah's Witness. They over here trying to tell you about a Jesus that they believe is Michael the Archangel. They don't take time off, so what makes you think I can take time off? How many Christians do you really see out there doing the work that they supposed to be doing? You know what I'm saying? How many of y'all know Miss Alicia? I met her through soul winning. Before I came by, how many people, Baptist churches or church people, Christian people that believe that Jesus is the Son of God came by and, you know, was to tell you about Jesus? You know, and of course you already knew, but we still had a great conversation anyway. You've been a faithful member since. But how many people come by? How many Christian people come by and do that? I guarantee you not many. I've never had a Christian person. I've never had a Christian person try to tell me the gospel. I've never had a Christian person give me a gospel tract. I've never had a Christian person knock on my door to tell me about Jesus. I've had Jehovah's Witnesses do it. I've had them do it. I've had some Mormons do it. Never had just a regular good old fashioned Christian that believed Jesus Christ is the Son of God come and tell me. Why? Because we're not doing the work. When you look at this, the country, and the way that the people are killing each other, and you got men saying they women and women saying they men, and all this foolishness and insanity that's going on. And why is this going on? Because there's not enough people out here doing the work. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing the symptoms that we're seeing. This country is sick. And this country is sick, and what we're seeing, the symptoms, the murder and the rape and the way we treat each other, they're all symptoms of a lack of godliness. These school shootings, a lack of godliness. You know what I'm saying? There's no God. Nobody fears God anymore. Nobody even know about God anymore because there's not people like us out there doing the work. There's work to be done. And like I said, that's a lot of reason why most of the people that don't really have the grace of God in their life don't, because they don't do the work. They won't make the sacrifice. They won't put the liquor down. They won't put the drugs down. They won't put the pills down. They won't take some time off from work. They won't put the phone down to do the work. That's why we're seeing our country and our world in the situation it's in right now. There's work to be done. So if you're going to want to follow the will of God, make sure before you make that commitment that you understand you finna have to do some work. You see what I'm saying? You finna have to do some work. They always working. You know what I'm saying? You rarely see any Christian work. You see these Jehovah's Witnesses, you see all that. There's always work to be done. So if you saying, well, I think I'm in the will of God, but you ain't doing no work, then I highly doubt you in the will of God. Because that's what the will of God is. It's work. It's work. You know what I'm saying? God's will is work. You see what I'm saying? Because I think about it, and again, I'm talking to y'all, but I'm talking to myself. I remember when I first moved here, so I first moved here to Waverly, and I was saying, oh man, y'all know me, y'all know my testimony. I wrote a song called God's Will, said, oh God, I want your will for my life. And from that moment on, I put the drugs down, started serving the Lord. Lord, I want to be in for 10 years. I swore I would have swore to you that I was living God's will. Because, anytime I talk to somebody, I was telling about God, I was telling my testimony, I was reading my Bible and all that, but I wasn't really doing the work. If somebody came to me or I just happened to get in the conversation and we get talking about God, yeah, I talk about God, but I wasn't going out looking for people to tell God about. I wasn't going out creating opportunity for me to tell people about God. I wasn't doing that. I was doing bare minimum. I wasn't really doing the work. And that's why I wasn't growing spiritually. It wasn't until I moved here that I really started growing spiritually. Because before I moved here, I was at Middle Tennessee Baptist Church in Murfreesboro. Never forget it. And, that was the first time I really started working, but I was still doing bare minimum because Middle Tennessee is a big church. It's a big church, and there's a lot of people there that really work. That's really what I learned, what it means to really work for the Lord. And it was some God people there, and they wasn't doing it just to make themselves feel special. And it was weird because it was a white church. That was the first time I ever been to a white church. But man, them people really loved the Lord. They really loved the Lord, and they had to work to prove they loved the Lord. And I never forget it. I shared my testimony with them one time, and this older guy came over. Brother Jack is his name. And he ran a bus route, and he came over, and he was just like, man, said, I just believe the Lord is putting on my heart to let you know that he wants you to work for me, work with me on my bus route. He said, just think about it, pray on it. He said, but I really believe that the Lord wants you to work with me on my bus route. And and I prayed about it, and I did, and show y'all how crazy, and I'm going to bring this up again later on another point, but show y'all how crazy it is. The song that I wrote that changed my life, the day after I wrote this song, it was called God's Will. That's when my life changed. And again, that's why I said this lesson is so near and dear to my heart, because it was God's will that started all this, and me accepting God's will that had me where I'm at. And the bus route, and each bus route had names to it. And guess what the name of the bus route that this guy that asked me to work on his bus route was? The name of his bus route was, guess what? God's Will. You know what I'm saying? I didn't even have to pray when I saw that. The name of his bus route was God's Will. You see what I'm saying? So I started working there, and that's when I really learned how to, you know what I'm saying? Because, some people, they do work just to say, oh, I do this, I do that. These people work because they love the Lord. They love, and when his route was the route he had where they would go into the projects down in Nashville and pick up kids and bring them to church. So it was a lot of work involved because we had to get up, we had to leave the church early, go all the way down to Nashville, which is about a 50-minute drive, pick up all the kids, which took a while, bring them back, have church, then keep them from turning the church up because they was a little rowdy down there in the projects in Nashville, then take them back and bring them back. That was a lot of work, but I did that work. You know what I'm saying? And but that was still, even with that was just bare minimum because I wasn't even the bus captain. I was just basically on there for like kind of crowd control. The kids, of course, they connected me a little bit because, I was raised up around the projects in Memphis. So I would, help the bus driver, the captain out. But still, he was doing the majority of the work. But I was like, well, I'm doing something. I'm working the bus route. But there was so much more I could be doing. I remember so many times they was announcing, hey, we're going to be soul winning on Thursday if anybody want to go. And I never did go soul winning with them. You know what I'm saying? I could have been doing that. I don't know. And the reason why I didn't go, because I'm like, well, because they usually had a pretty decent crowd going. So I'm like, well, they going, so it ain't no point of me going. You know what I'm saying? They out there going. But see, I should have been going too, because it was way more work, involved than that could have been done by the people that was going. I should have been going as well, but I wasn't, because I wasn't really trying to do the work. So fast forward, end up getting this new job, having to move to this new town. You know what I'm saying? So move to the new town. Now I go from a huge city, well, not a huge city, but a pretty big city, to this little small, tiny city with like 3 people in it. You know what I'm saying? So I end up at this church, River Lake Baptist Church. I end up at this church, and I get there, and whereas Middle Tennessee had 200 people in there, this church had like 40, 50 people in there. And most of them was old. Like, they was older people. So guess what? They needed some young person to come in there that was willing to work. So guess what? God put me in a position where I had to work. I could no longer hide behind the work that other people was doing. I had to start. If I'm really going to serve God, And that's what I believe God put me there. You're like, all right, you said you really want to serve me. Now are you ready to do this work? Because it was a lot of work that they needed to be done at that church. You know what I'm saying? They needed some, like I said, most of the people at the church were like older people. They were like 60, 70 years old. So they couldn't get out and go soul winning like they used to. They couldn't do the work like that a young person can do. But I got this young person. I was 34, 35 when I first moved here. So I'm still in my 30s. You know what I'm saying? Got all this energy. You know what I'm saying? If you want to really do some work, God put me in a position to do some work. And, you know, and at first, I resisted at first. You know what I'm saying? Like, I remember again, they was asking about going soul winning, and I didn't want to go. And then what that I didn't want to go, they go soul winning at like 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays. Saturday is my only day I get rest. That's the only day I can get to sleep in. So, my Saturday is like sacred. It's like, Saturday is the Sabbath, and it's really like my Sabbath. That's my sleep-in day. I try to do my best not to plan anything on Saturdays. So when they were like, man, we go soul winning at 10 o'clock on Saturday, I mean, I had to get up at 8:30 on Saturday. I was like, nah, Chief, I don't think I'm going to do that. You know what I'm saying? But God brought me on a conviction about it. The pastor kept on asking. Then he actually said, man, you said you want to do the work, but you're not willing to get up and go soul winning. He said, why? And I told him, man, look, I work basically 7 days a week. And like the only day I really can get sleep in is on Saturday. I said, so I hate, man, to have to get up there because that's like when I recharge my battery. So the preacher, he said, he said, I'll tell you what. He said, what time would you be willing to go soul winning? I said, man, if you can go like 2 o'clock in the evening or something like that, I can do that. He said, fine. He said, so I'll tell you what, I'll take everybody else out at 10 o'clock our regular time, and then I come back and meet you at 2 o'clock. And that's what he did for a few months. He came and he met me at 2 o'clock, and I went out soul winning. That's when I started going soul winning. And you know what I'm saying? So he would go soul winning twice a day just to get me to go soul winning, to get into the work. And we did that for some months. And over those months, I watched him. I watched how he worked, watched how he talked to the people, watched how he did soul winning. And then finally, I got bit by the bug, so to speak, to where I understood what you need to do to tell people about the Lord. And I guess what? I've been going soul winning ever since. And since then, that was about, that was about toward the end of 2015. So about the beginning of 2016. So since the beginning of 2016, since I've been now willing to do that work, I've been able, by the grace of God, to lead over 500 people to the Lord. Since 2016, over 500 people I've been able to tell what they need to know to get to heaven since 2016. Why? Because I finally gave in to doing the work. I was willing to do the work. So see, you got to understand, there's going to be work involved. But now I know I'm talking about work, but something you don't want to, you got to be careful with though. Don't confuse, because a lot of churches do this and they teach this. Don't confuse doing the work with salvation. You know what I'm saying? Don't be careful not to confuse your work with righteousness either. You got to be careful. You got to stay humble. You know what I'm saying? Just because I do this work, just because I preach these sermons, just because I go out soul winning, just because that don't make me righteous. It's my faith in Jesus Christ and the blood that Jesus shed for me that made me righteous. So don't get confused and start thinking, oh, because of my works I'm righteous. No, your works just show you faithful. And if y'all familiar with your Bible at all, I want to read this over in the chapter of James. James chapter 2, verses 14 through 18. And this is a famous verse. Y'all most likely y'all heard it before. And I'm going to read out the King James. I'm not going to read out the New Living Translation because I just like the way the King James word is. Just the word and strong on it. He said this in verse 14. He said, what does it profit, my brethren, though a man say he have faith? So in other words, he says a man to say he has faith, but he have not works. Can faith save him? If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and filled, notwithstanding you give them not those things which are needful to the body, what doth it profit? Even so, if it have not works, it is dead being alone. Yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. So you got to understand, that's what your work do. Is your work don't mean you're more righteous because you do this work, but your work shows that you truly have faith. It's hard for you to say that you have faith in God, but you don't have no work to show for it. And you don't have no work to show your faith. And that's what James is saying. If you really believe in God, like you say you do, if God is really your Savior, if you really believe that Jesus is the Messiah, then there's some work you're going to be doing to tell other people about the Lord, to show people you really believe that. So if you're saying you have faith, but you don't have work, then guess what? Your faith is dead. You see what I'm saying? But don't get that confused as saying that you got to work to get into heaven. That's not what they're saying. It's just saying if you really do love the Lord, you really truly believe in the Lord, and you truly believe that you want to follow the Lord's word, the Lord's will, then there's going to be some work to show. There's going to be some things to show that you really do believe that. Like I said, y'all can scroll up and down my Facebook page. Y'all can see the 30, 40, 50 video. I don't know how many I got on there, but it's probably at least 50 videos of that I've done since I started doing this May of 2022. So it's almost been 3 years now since COVID, because I started doing the year of COVID. So it's almost been 3 years, and I've done a video every single week. So it's more than that now to think about it. Because it's been 3 years and I've done a video every 6. So it's over hundreds. It's hundreds of videos that y'all can scroll up and down my Facebook page and see, or go to my YouTube channel and see. Hundreds of videos. And none of them is under an hour. I don't think I got any video under an hour. Most of them are right at 2 hours. There's even some that's 3 hours. So there's hundreds of hours that you can see that I can show you that shows you that I really believe in the Lord. Because that's the work that I've done. This is my work. You know what I'm saying? If you go knock on some doors in the projects and ask, have you seen this big black ugly dude? They're going to say, yeah, he came out here trying to talk to me about Jesus. That's my work. You know what I'm saying? So my work shows my faith. My work is not, my faith is not dependent on my work, but my works does show that I have faith. So if you're going to do with the will of God, and you might be watching this video today, and you might come under conviction and be like, you know what, I'm gonna start following God's will in my life. I'm gonna start doing the things of God for Him. Like, that's great. That is great, but just make sure you know, if you do say that and you are serious about that, make sure you're ready to work, because there's going to be some work involved if you're going to follow the will of God. So number 21, if you're going to follow the will of God, you're going to stay in His will, make sure you're willing and ready to work. You can't be lazy, sleeping all day, drugging, drinking, prostituting yourself around with women or men and think you're going to do the will of God. No, you got to be ready to do some work. And there's always going to be some work to do. There's always something to do for the kingdom of God. Make sure you're willing to do so. So number 21, which is point number 2 from tonight, be willing and ready to do the work. So number 22, and I guess I'm just probably going to be my last. I'm already at about an hour and a half, so this is going to probably be my last point that I'm going to clear tonight. Well, number 22 is verse 27. At least we get finished with chapter 9. Number 22, which is verse 27, says, he said, it's time you was on your way. So Saul got ready, and he and Samuel left the house together. In verse 27, he says, now when they reached the edge of town, Samuel told Saul to send his servant on ahead. After the servant was gone, Samuel said, stay here, for I have received a special message for you from God. Number 22, this is another one that's very hard for Christians. This is another one that's very hard for Christians to do, because we are loving people. We don't always want to help people, and we always want to do the most we can for people. We want to give people our heart and our time all the time. But it's very important that you're able to do this if you're going to be in the will of God. If you're going to find the will of God and you're going to stay in the will of God. Number 22 is this, which is point number 3 for the night. You have to be willing to separate from anyone or anything that can hinder you from finding the will of God for your life. Let me repeat that. You have to be willing to separate from anyone or anything that can hinder you from finding the will of God for your life. You got to let some stuff go. You got to let some people go. You know what I'm saying? There are certain people in your life that if you hang around these people, if you spend a significant amount of time with these people, they're going to take you out of the will of God. They're going to bring you down. They're not going to lift you up. There are certain things. If you spend time doing these things, if you spend time playing with these things, using these things, these phones are one of them, it's going to keep you from finding the will of God in your life. There are certain places. If you go to these places and you spend a significant amount of time in these places, it's going to keep you from finding the will of God in your life. You got to be willing to separate from this thing. And that's so hard to do, because it can be anybody. If your wife is keeping you from finding the will of God in your life, you got to leave her behind. If you're serious about it, if you're serious about being in the will of God. Now, if you ain't serious, you're just casual, that's one thing. But if you're really serious about being the will of God, and your wife is hindering you from that, then you might have to leave her behind. You know what I'm saying? You might have to leave your best friend behind. You might have to leave your brother behind. You might have to leave your mama behind. You might have to leave your dad behind. There's some things you're going to have to separate from to find the will of God in your life. Because you think about it. He said, he told his servant to go ahead and, he said, after the service, he said, send your servant on ahead. And after the servant was gone, then Samuel said, stay here, I got a message from you. Why couldn't he tell him why the servant was there? Now, that don't necessarily mean that the servant was a bad dude, because if y'all think about it, the servant is the whole reason that Saul came to Samuel in the first place. Because y'all remember there was, again, if you go back and read the beginning story, I know it's been a while since we started the beginning because this is the 6th part of this lesson. But if you remember, they was wandering around looking for the donkeys, couldn't find the donkeys nowhere. And Saul was like, man, let's go back to the house. And it was the servant that said, hey, why don't we go to the man of God and see if he can find, tell us where the donkeys are at. And then Saul was still didn't want to go because he like, well, we ain't got nothing to offer him. And what did the servant say? Man, I got this dime, I got a quarter in my pocket. I mean, I know it ain't much, but let's give him that and to see if he'll tell us. So see, it was the servant that actually brought him to the preacher. It was a servant that actually brought him to the prophet. So it don't necessarily mean that the servant was a bad dude. But for whatever reason, God had to separate him from that servant so he can get his message to him. And that's what you got to understand. Just because you separate from people, they don't mean they're bad people. They don't mean that that you don't love those people. You see what I'm saying? But those people is going to hinder you from getting that message from God, and you got to separate it. There's guys that I love to death. You know what I'm saying? That I love to death will take a bullet for. That I don't mess with like I used to. Why? Because my path is to do the work of God, and their path is not. We don't not on the same path. So I had to say, and then some of them was the very ones that kept me from doing dumb stuff back in the day. So it's not that I'm better than them. It's not that I'm more important than them. It's just that my path to do the will of God has taken me this direction, and since they're not, and their heart is not in tune with doing the will of God, they kept going in that direction. So we had to separate. That don't mean they're bad people. That don't mean you don't love them no more. That don't mean you're better than them. It's just that if you want to be able to hear God clearly, then you have to separate from them. Because as long as you stay around from them, you're never going to truly be able to do the things that God has for you to do. Because see, that's something you got to understand, man. If you're going to do the will of God, you got to understand, man, this is a lonely road. You might end up walking this road by yourself. You need to be prepared to be by yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's a lonely road. It ain't no guarantee. That's why you notice most preachers are married. Most of them are. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because you need somebody there. You need that companion there that's going to have your back. Because this work is hard. You have to make a lot of sacrifices. Now, right now, I can smell it through the door. You know what I'm saying? It's dinner time. You know what I'm saying? It's 8:30, it's dinner time. The kids might have already ate, or they currently eating right now. I don't know. I know the dinner's done by now because I know my wife's schedule, and dinner's done. They probably there eating. I would love to be in there eating with them and enjoying the time with my family, but I got work to do. I'm here. You know what I'm saying? But my wife understands that. So when I get done, she gonna have a fat, juicy plate with me, wait for me in the microwave or put aside on the stove somewhere. She gonna have my plate, and then I'm gonna go in there and I sit down and eat with them. They understand that I come to dinner after I finish doing this work. See what I'm saying? But that's family. Now if you just got a girlfriend that's not dedicated to you like that, then she might not get that. It's gonna be hard for you to maintain a relationship. She might not get that, especially when you put God first. Now, I thank God that since I've been in the ministry, I had this wife and she understands that God comes first. You know what I'm saying? It's not a slight to her. It's not that I don't love her, but she understands that I'm all about God's will. And because of that, I got a work to do. I'm a minister. I got people that I have to encourage. I got people that I have to constantly strengthen in the word of God. There's always work to do. I can be pulled away at any moment. You see what I'm saying? Now, yes, you got to have that life balance. I do try to, special occasion, y'all might have saw my post from last week. It was our anniversary. You know what I'm saying? I made sure I got that time for her. You know, God will give you this stuff. You know what I'm saying? My oldest daughter's birthday was last Monday. Y'all remember because I actually did a little bit of a shorter video so I can get her and have the birthday dinner with her. She cooked her own dinner, which is weird. Knowing my wife would cook it, but she wanted to cook her own dinner because she grown now. You know what I'm saying? I got that time in there. You know what I'm saying? But that's family. That's why it's so important to have a family, have that support system. Because guess what? I don't really hang out with nobody outside of my family. I don't really talk to people outside of my family. I don't hang out like I used to. I'm not out at the clubs and the bars and my friends every weekend playing video games. I don't do none of that stuff, man. I go to work, I come home and do my preaching if it's a preaching night, or get my Bible reading stuff done and spend time with my family. That's what I do. That's who I hang out with. I got a dude that was, man, I mean, we were peas in the pod. Like, you saw me, you saw him for years. Matter of fact, we were so close, we call each other, because we kind of like third cousin, but we were not really blood related cousins, but we're like third cousin because his cousin is my cousin. So we got cousins in common, but we actually, but anyway, hung out with the dude so long, you know what I'm saying? Like, matter of fact, me and him used to hang out so much. I kid y'all not, and I didn't find this out until I was older. Me and him hung out so much that people actually thought we was gay because we was always together. But guess what? Since I've been doing God's work, I don't talk to him like I used to. I really, man, he called me on my birthday. I call him on his birthday. Every once in a while, our cousin that we got in common throw a get together some at his house, and we'll get down to get together. But I don't, and it ain't that I don't know. It ain't no love long. We get together. It's just like we never had even left each other. But we don't spend time like we used to because I'm doing this work that God has for me to do. See, it's a lonely road. I got another friend of mine that I met in college. You know what I'm saying? When I met him in college, he kind of took my cousin Chad's spot, and his name is Charles. Both their names start with C. I never thought of that. But anyway, hung out with him all the time. You know, every single day. We even ended up working together, our first chemistry jobs together. We was kicking it every single day. And now, I rarely see him. I saw him once. A couple of years, over the last 6 years since I really dedicated myself to the Lord, I barely see him. I saw him maybe once a year. Like I said, the company we work for called Test America, and so we got a group of us that we've always been close, so we still get together and have like little get-togethers like once a year. Usually somebody either throw a Christmas party or they have a barbecue at some point during the family, during the summer that everybody bring their family together. That's when I see him. You know, I used to talk to this dude every single day, and again, it's not that I don't love him. It ain't no love lost. It ain't that we had a fight and we just don't mess with each other no more. God just separated us because I had some work to be done. You know what I'm saying? And he's not on the same thing. And again, not a bad dude. It's just that him being a minister, that's not his thing. You know what I'm saying? He's making money. He's a chemist. He's doing he's doing some great things. I actually think he just finished up school. So there's no love lost at all. Like, I love the guy. Matter of fact, we saw him a few weeks ago. We went to a bar mitzvah. I think I told y'all about that. And he came because one of our mutual friends. He came and we got to catch up. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, me and this dude, we spent time together, hung out every single day. And so for us to be in a situation where we barely see each other is weird. But again, God had to separate us. You know what I'm saying? He had to separate us because I had work to do that I was going to take me in a different direction than the work he was going, the way he was going. So you got to understand, it's very vital, man. Like, you know, I know we have these loved ones that we love, these people that we care about. But if God got something for you to do, and these people going to keep you from doing their thing, you have to separate. You know what I'm saying? And I talked about being, most preachers are married. Sometimes even that don't work out. Because you got to understand something. My wife supports this ministry. I wouldn't be able to do it without her. You know what I'm saying? I understand that completely. I wouldn't be able to do what I do, spend all this time talking to y'all without her support, because she makes sure my clothes are washed and food and stuff and all that. I can't do it without her, so don't get me twisted. But you got to understand, she didn't get called into the ministry. I did. She's in it by default. She's in it because, you know what I'm saying, because I'm in it. Same with my kids. You know what I'm saying? I guarantee you they get tired of God sometimes. Because I'm always, we have Bible study, we go to church 2-3 times a week. And they have to go out soul winning me on Saturdays. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of work involved in this. And they didn't get called to preach. They didn't get called to go soul winning. I did. But because I'm the leader of the family, and that's why I want to lead the family, they kind of got to go, if they're going to support me, if they're going to be there for me, and they're going to not, know what I'm saying, make it easy for me to be successful, then they got to go along with it too. And sometimes we get into it over stuff like, man, you know, we supposed to be family God. We shouldn't be doing that. And they be like, man, look, that's you. That's not us kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, it's a lonely road, and it can get to a point. You know what I'm saying? There have been times where ministries have fallen or fell off because the loved one decided they didn't want to do it no more. That's happened. Matter of fact, that's one of the things, some of the advice my pastor gave me and other older ministers gave me. They like, make sure you get that time in there. He said, because if you lose your family, you lose your ministry. He said, you can lose your ministry and still have your family, and you can be able to recuperate from that. You know what I'm saying? You can get your ministry back at any time. He said, but if you lose your family, you lose your ministry. He said, so that's why it's so important for you to understand that and make sure you get that time in there. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I said my family, they know when important events coming up, I'm there. You know what I'm saying? Important things, there's certain things, but there's certain times where I gotta work. I gotta get this work in. I gotta get this word out. I can't be there for you right now if it's not something important. But most important events, I'm there. I haven't missed too many things where it's like, well, you need to be there because I had to go out and preach somewhere. God always worked it out where I can get there. But again, my point is, though, if something came up where I couldn't be there, I had to go do that thing. I had to go do that work. So it's a lonely road. That's why it's very important for you to have your good companion, somebody that's going to fully support you, especially somebody. That's why if you're going to do God's will, make sure, and this is not one of the points I brought up, but make sure you with somebody that's hard, is as in tune with God and following his will and doing his work as you are, because it's hard. If you know what I'm saying, if you giving it your all and you going all in and they not really feeling it like that. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be hard for you because it's going to be forever be a struggle. Them struggling, you know what I'm saying? You struggling to give God his due time and do the work he has for you to do, but also be able to spend that time with your family. That's why Paul said, if you read Paul, he said, man, he said, if I wish y'all can be like me, because Paul wasn't married, he didn't have any kids. He said, man, I wish, he said, if you can, stay like me. Don't have kids and don't get married. He said, because if you do that, then you can give your whole heart to God. You got to worry about it. You know what I'm saying? You can just give your all to God. He said, but if you married and got kids, then guess what? There's going to be a certain amount of time that you got to spend and taking care of your wife and your family. So you ain't going to be able to give your whole heart to God. Now, of course, I read that after I gave my life to God. I had already got married and had the kids, so it was too late for me. But that's why he say that, though, because it can be a lonely road. You got to understand that, because when you doing the work, when God have a certain thing for you to do, he's going to separate you from anything that's going to keep you from doing that work. So if your kids are keep you from doing that work, he's going to separate you from them kids. If your wife is going to keep you from doing that work, he's going to separate you from that wife. You know, your dad, y'all remember when Jesus called, I think it was James and John. It said they was in the boat with their dad Zebedee fishing, and Jesus came along the shore and called out to him, said, "Hey, come follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men." You know what I'm saying? He called Peter. I think he called Peter and Andrew first, and he said they left the boat behind. Then he said he saw James and John in the boat with their father Zebedee. You know what I'm saying? Fishing. He said, "Hey, come follow me. I'll make you fish of men." And what did it say? He said they got out the boat and they left the boat and their dad behind. See, they had to separate from, and they wasn't out there fishing just because it was a nice day, it was some good weather like we had today. They went out there fishing just for fun. That was their livelihood. That was what they did to make money. That's what they did to feed their families. But when Jesus called them to come and serve him, what did he do? He said they left the boat and their dad behind. See, he separated them. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people in my life right now that I love dearly, but I don't get to spend as much time with them as I would like to. And some of them, I don't spend no time with them. Because, and not because I don't love them, not because I don't care about them, is because they can hinder me from doing the work that God has for me to do. So you have to be able to see that. You have to be able to, you got to have prayer for God to give you discretion on being able to do that. Because if you can't do that, you'll have people in your life that'll be draining your spiritual energy. You'll have people in your life that'll be draining you, and you not even realize they're keeping you from the success that God has for you. They're keeping you from your purpose because you're trying to, you know what I'm saying, cater to them and love them and spend time with them and do these things with them, and they're not reciprocating. It's not a mutual relationship. So you giving all your time and energy to support them and lift them up and bring them up, and you don't realize they're taking their energy and they draining you and bring you down because of it. That's why God, again, not because they're bad. Look at this dude. He said, "Send me to let the servant go." And like I said, the servant was the one that told Saul to go talk to the preacher. The servant was the one that was willing to give up his, because you got to understand, the servant was Saul. He was Saul's slave or whatever. Because the family, Saul's dad said he was rich. If you go back to the beginning of the story, said he was rich. So this servant of Saul was just one of the slaves that his dad owned. You know what I'm saying? So he didn't have the money. Saul is the heir to the throne, the money. He's the one who had all the money. But yet the slave gave up the last few cents that he had to get him to go talk to the preacher. So it's not that he was a bad dude. But for whatever reason, God had to separate them two before he can get that message to Saul that he wanted him to be king. He had to separate him from his servant before he can get him the message on, hey, this is how you're going to be successful. Maybe the servant was a hater. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe the servant would have told him, you know what I'm saying, talked him down and kept him from doing it. I don't know. It don't say why he separated him from that servant, but it does say he did separate him from that servant because that servant could have, for whatever reason, been a hindrance. You see what I'm saying? He could have been a hindrance. So that's why you got to always make sure that the right people are in your life. Because if the right people are not in your life, you're not around good, godly people that's going to support you, that's going to push you forward, then you never realize what they're missing, what you're missing out on. You don't know the blessings they're making you miss out on because their heart is not in the right place, and therefore your heart is not going to be in the right place. You know what I'm saying? The birds of a feather flock together. You see what I'm saying? So there's going to be some places when you start, if you really want to follow the will of God, and I'm telling you this, they help you stay in the will of God. You know what I'm saying? If you really, like I said, you come under conviction tonight and decide that, man, I want to follow the will of God, well, guess what? If you serious about that, there's some places you're going to stop going. You ain't going to be able to go no more. You know what I'm saying? There's going to be some people that you're not going to hang around no more. They're just going to start disappearing out of your life. There's going to be some things that you're doing right now that's going to start disappearing out of your life because all these things can be a hindrance to the will of God for your life. So God is going to take these things out of your life. Again, not that they're bad things. Not that they're bad people. Not that they're evil people like, yeah, I'm going to keep you from doing God's work. They don't even realize that they're keeping you from doing God's work. Their intention is not to keep you from doing God's work. That's not what I'm saying at all. They have no malicious intent, no insidious intent on keeping you from doing God's work. It's just their presence and that what their heart's at and the things they do. You know what I'm saying? That the energy they take along with them can keep them, can affect your energy and keep you from being where you need to be, keep you from doing the things that God has for you to do. That's why the Lord separates people out of your life. Like I said, there's people that I love with the bottom of my heart, people that has been down. Like I said, some of the very people that kept me from doing stupid stuff back in my youth. Some of those very people I don't mess with to this day. You know what I'm saying? Why? Because I separated from them. Not even that I separated. God just took us in different paths. Again, not that they ain't bad. Like when I hook up with them, we still love. We sit there and talk about the good old days and the stupid stuff we used to do. The love is still there. The love ain't gone at all. But the separation is there. God separated me out because he had something for me to do. So when God has something for you to do, he's going to separate you from anything that's going to keep you from doing that. And you need to be prepared for that. If you're not prepared for that, then you don't need to make no vows to the Lord that you're going to follow his will. Because his will, you don't know where his will is going to take you. You never know his will is going to take you. You see what I'm saying? You have to be prepared because you might end up being alone. At the end of the day, like I said, I got my wife. We just celebrated, 19 years of marriage. So we're working on year number 20 right now. I don't think she's going to go anywhere, but I don't know what God has ahead for us. Especially as the hatred toward Christians get worse, especially as we look like we're going toward this one world government and all this stuff. Because a woman is always a mother first. You know what I'm saying? I honestly believe, I know my wife loved the Lord, and I'm not talking about her at all. But if they come out that we got to get that stamp in our hands or the mark of the beast, they get food and stuff to feed our kids, she would get it, not because she don't have no faith in God. It's because she'd rather, go through hell than let her kids go without eating. That's just how she is. You see what I'm saying? Me, I got to stand on what I believe. You know what I'm saying? I got to stand on, I can't get that mark. You know what I'm saying? So who's the person in the wrong there? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But I know her heart. I know she's gonna do whatever. That's why I married her, because her kids come first. The kids come even before I do. You know what I'm saying? Kids come even before I do. So if we get in a situation that happens and she's like, well, I'm gonna go get the mark so I can't be with her no more. You know what I'm saying? That'll be a situation we have to separate. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just giving you hypotheticals. These are things that you have to be prepared for if you're going to stay faithful to the world. You got to be willing to let some stuff go, some stuff that you care for dearly. You know what I'm saying? My kids, they go down a different path. They become atheists and pagans or whatever. I can't associate with them. I can't mess with them no more. That's not the path I'm on. You know what I'm saying? So if you're going to claim that you want to be in the will of God and you're going to claim that you're going to do the will of God, then you better get ready to start losing some stuff that you love dearly. You got to understand, you might be at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying, you might be the only one walking that path. That's why I say, it says, what it say about the path of destruction, that wide and broad is the gate that leads to destruction, but narrow is the gate that leads to right. I'm misquoting that, but I think it's narrow is the gate that leads to heaven, but I know broad and wide is the gate that leads to destruction. Why? It's not a lot of people on it. It's not a lot of people on it. 9 times out of 10, out of your circle, if you got a circle around you, a circle of people around you, and they're not spiritual people, then most likely, if you got a circle of 10, 12 people around you, you might be the only one that's going. You see what I'm saying? You might be the only one that's going. And you got to be willing to do that. You got to be willing when the world, when it comes to legal to serve the serve the Lord, and when it comes to illegal to keep preaching, I'm gonna keep preaching. You know what I'm saying? But again, that might not be for my wife. She might not. I got to separate from you, and I wouldn't hate her one bit. I wouldn't hate her one bit, because like I said, she gonna do what she got to do to protect them kids. She gonna support me as long as she can, but she gonna do what she gonna do to protect them kids, and I wouldn't hate her one bit. I just know that we got to separate, not because love lost, not because she hate me or anything like that, but because God is taking me in a different direction, because I can't let anything keep me from doing His work. I can't let anything, no matter how much I love it, no matter how much I cherish it, I can't let anything be a hindrance for me doing His work. And that's what you got. That's the mindset you got to have when you start dealing with the will of God, when you get into the work of God. I can't let if I know this thing is going to keep me from doing God's work, I got to let this thing go. Like I told her, that's why I got away from weed, because it was keeping me, I knew it was keeping me from doing all that I could be doing. That's why I got away from drinking, because it was to keep me from doing that all I could have been doing. And a lot of the stuff that I no longer do, I don't do it because I knew it could be a hindrance for me from doing the work of God. So if you want to get in the will of God, you know what I'm saying, you want to get in the will of God, be serious about the will of God, make sure you remember that. Matter of fact, like I said, these three points that I went over tonight, because I'm definitely about to be done, because I'm already about an hour and a half over. But these 3 points I went over tonight, those are things you need to remember if you're going to do the work, the will of God, and be able to stay in it, because it's not easy to do. There's going to be some work involved. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you have your place to meet with the Lord. You know what I'm saying? So you can do that work so you can hear His message clearly, just you and Him. Remember, there's going to be some work involved. You're not finna just sit around on your blessed assurance, not doing nothing. There's going to be some work involved, and you might end up being alone. You got to be willing to separate from anyone or anything that can hinder you from finding the will of God for your life. You have to separate it. Again, not that they're bad people. By all means, Saul's servant was not a bad person. He was the one, again, that led Saul to the preacher himself. You know what I'm saying? Made the sacrifice for Saul to get to hear go talk to the preacher. Was not a bad dude, but yet God still had to separate him from his servant so he can get that message. So you got to understand that if you're going to be in the will of God, you have to be willing to separate from anyone or anything that can hinder you from finding the will of God for your life. You know what I'm saying? You got to leave that world behind. That's why it talks about becoming a new man, leaving that world behind. You got to leave all this stuff behind if you're really going to do the will of God for your life. So that's it, y'all. I'm going to end right there. I thought I would get through more than 3 minutes. I'm getting bad about that. I went from doing 7 to 8 to 5 and 3, but I can't help it, y'all. They just get so good to me when I get into this word, man, because like I said, this lesson here, it just be so near and dear to my heart. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people ask me about my success. I mean, you know what I'm saying? How did I get here? You know, they're so proud of me and all that. And it all comes from me following the will of God. The success that I have, everything that I am, the wisdom that I have, whatever accolades you want to give me, all of it, I didn't get any of that stuff. None of those things came to me until I started following the will of God for my life. And when I started following the will of God for my life, that peace, that wisdom, that strength, that the endurance that I've been going through, man, all these things that came to me, the perseverance, that's the word I was looking for, perseverance, all those things came to me once I started following the will of God for my life. And that's why I want to make sure y'all understand how important it is and know what you need to know if you're going to follow the will of God for your life. Because again, it's going to be some work involved. There's going to be some stuff. When I got into the will of God, it shocked me. And I'm telling y'all, so you won't have to worry about it. I had to learn the hard way. You know what I'm saying? I had to find these things out on my own the hard way. So it kind of threw me for a loop when I saw how hard it really was to get into God's will and follow God's will, and how much this world fights us and try to keep us from God's will. I had to find out the hard way. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to help y'all out. And if you got any kind of wisdom, you'll see, man, I'm helping you out. I'm giving you the mindset you need. I'm letting you know the things that you need to be prepared for so you can get your heart and mind ready to follow His will, because it's not going to be easy, and His world going to do everything He can to take you out of God's will for His life. But if you really want to be successful, you have to follow the will of God for your life and be ready to do some work. And you might have to lose some people or some things and leave some people, things, and places behind so you can really follow the will of God for your life. So again, that's the finisher. So I got through, at least I did get through 1 Samuel chapter 9. I did get that far. I got through there completely. And again, chapter 10, the first part of chapter 10, still dealing with the will of God. So look like about for now, next Monday, Lord willing, I'll be back next Monday and we'll get into some more. We'll get into a little bit, some more things that you need for the unknown. And like I said, I know it's part 6, but it don't matter to me. This is, I think out of all the lessons I've done, this is one of the most, other than the lesson of salvation, this is one of the most important ones, because that's what next after that. Matter of fact, I told y'all that when I talk about salvation, after salvation, the next most important things for you to do once you make the decision to get saved, then the next most important decision you need to make is to make the Lord, God, the Lord of your life, and want to follow His perfect will for your life. So God willing, next Monday night, 7 o'clock, be back here, same back channel, same back time, and we're gonna go to part 7 of God's will, the success and the will of God for your life. And I'm gonna go and start jump into chapter 1 Samuel chapter 10. And we're going to see some more things, some more characteristics, some more things that we need to know, some more mindsets that we need to have so we can do the will of God for our life. Of course, tomorrow night is Lost Sheep Ministry. We will meet live. I know we meet here tonight on video, but we will meet live tomorrow night at Revelation Baptist Church at 6 o'clock. So if y'all in the area, well, 9 times out of 10, we usually get there late because I have to go pick people up and people ain't always ready. So a lot of time I get there anywhere between 6 and 6:30. So if you ever show up to church at 6 and I'm not there, just wait. I will be there. Trust me. If I say I'm going to be there, I'm going to be there unless it's an act of God. So tomorrow night we have that meeting as well. Y'all are welcome to come if you're going to be in the area. Keep sharing the videos, telling people about the videos. The views have been going up, and I really appreciate that. But it's not about the views. I'd rather have no views and y'all getting the message. It's more about the message. But I do appreciate y'all telling people about it, and I appreciate the growth. That definitely encourages me to keep going. But keep sharing and tagging people, whatever you need to do. My stuff is always public. It's never private. And I wanted to get out there to help people so they can have the will of God for their life. And of course, we didn't really talk about salvation a lot tonight. I did mention it. But if you're watching the video, you're not 100% sure that if you die and go through the door called death, you get to see Jesus on the other side. You're not sure about your salvation. Please, please, please do not hesitate. Do not be too prideful to reach out to me and let me know. And I will set aside some time with you so I can go over the gospel with you. Even if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, like I was saying earlier, if it's 1 o'clock in the morning that we got to talk, I will set some time up, whatever time that fits your schedule, so to go over the gospel with you. And of course, as always, if you need any kind of spiritual counseling, you got any kind of things on your mind, question about the Bible, whatever it is, you might just need to talk and vent about things that's going on in your life. Please reach out to me and let me know. Again, inbox me or call me if you got my number. Reach out to me and let me know, and I will set some time aside to go over whatever issue it is and just share whatever wisdom the Lord has blessed me with you. And as always, y'all know this is like part 6 of this video, and there's going to be a few more parts before we get done. So if you just watch this video, you're like, man, that was good. Well, I wonder what else he was talking about in the will of God. You can go back, you can scroll up and down my Facebook page and go through all the memes and other things that I've been tagged in, or it'd be easier, you go over to my YouTube page. It's youtube.com. You put in the search bar, God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministries. If you do that, it will take you to my channel. Subscribe to the channel. That way it'll be easier for you to find each time you go in. But go there, and that'll help you be able to see all the older videos. It's an easier way to find all my older videos, and you can get caught back up, especially if it's on the series that I'm doing and you only saw one part of it and you want to see the rest. So with that being said, man, thank y'all tonight. I apologize, but like I said, I'm so passionate about this subject because, like I said, when I found the will of God for my life, that's when my life really changed. So that's why I'm so passionate about this subject. That's why I'm spending so much time not rushing through this, because I want y'all to get it. I want y'all to get it. I'm about to finish up, Pat, but I'm about to post a video, man, so you can go back and watch it. Appreciate you being here, bro. But again, man, I'm so passionate about this, and I hope that this lesson is helping y'all. I'm hoping that it's bringing you on the conviction and giving you the want to find the will of God for your life, so you can find His perfect will for your life and do the work that He has for you to do as well. So with that being said, man, I'm going to go ahead and pray and get out of here. Dear Lord and Father, thank you so much for watching over us today. Thank you for giving us this chance again to get here, be here and do this lesson. Give me the opportunity to lead your people in the direction they need to go. Again, I know I've been running my mouth and I tend to go off and go on little tangents when I do this, but it's so important, Lord. I really can't express how important it is for people to find your will. Of course, it's important to be saved, but it's even more important after they get saved, so they can make that decision to find your will for their life, so they can do the work that you saved them to do. You don't save us just so we can get to heaven and get to live in eternity and have peace in eternity forever. When you save us, Lord, when you lead us to you, you save us, it's because you have some work for us to do. There's some other people in our world now that we need to go and lead to you as well. There's other people in our world that we got to realize that we're their hope. With their hope, Lord. So I pray that you just continue to touch everybody's heart that's watching these videos. If there's some things that they should be doing according to your will and they're not doing it, please bring them under conviction and give them the want to do it. Help them see, because they watch these videos, because they've heard these words of wisdom, how important it is for them to do so, Lord. And I just pray you continue to give me the wisdom to bring out these truths to your people, Lord, so I can continue to guide them in the direction they need to go so they can do the work that you have for them to do. Watch over this ministry. Watch over my family. Continue to give us your power, love, and wisdom over any problem may arise that may keep us from doing your work, Lord. And please continue to give me and my family the encouragement we need to continue to go forth doing your work. Give my ministry members the encouragement they need to continue to go forth doing the work that you have for them to do as well. And I pray you use me, my family, this ministry, and all its members in a mighty way to do our part to honor and glorify your name, actually build your kingdom, and turn the hearts of this world back to you. Be with all my ministry members, Lord. I know they all got some things they're going through. I know Miss Alicia and her grandson, taking care of their grandson. Give her the energy and the strength and encouragement she needs to keep going for being that great grandmother that she is, taking care of that baby boy, Lord. And all the other ones that are going through things right now, health issues right now, personal issues right now. I thank you for giving me, I was dealing with a housing issue, and I thank you for getting that taken care of, Lord. I know it's all because of you that I was able to find a place that'll take care of all my needs, Lord. I thank you for that. And I just ask you to be with us all. We're all going through something. We're all dealing with something. And it's only if we follow your will for our lives that we be able successful to get through these things, Lord. Watch over this country and this world as a whole. To be honest, I say this country, but the world as a whole, Lord. Help us to see how far away from you we've gotten, and just change our heart back to you. Turn our hearts back to you, Lord, so we can get back to a place where we can truly honor and glorify you, Lord. Just turn our hearts back to you, so we can humble ourselves, pray, seek your face, and turn from our wicked ways, so you may hear from heaven, forgive our sins, and heal our lands. Watch over our nation. Watch over this world. Heal us, Lord, but more importantly, turn us back to you. We love you so very much. Thank you for all you've done and given. And we say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, man, appreciate y'all being here tonight, man. Patrick, I know, like you said, you just came in, bro. I'm about to post it on the page so you can go back and watch it. I love you all. Again, continue to pray for me. I'll continue to pray for y'all. And, man, just continue to pray for this world. I mean, this world is it seems like it's going to hell in a handbasket. But we got to do our part. If we get out there and we do our work and we do our part, I guarantee you, man, we can bring this world back to the Lord. But it's going to take some work. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take some sacrifice. And you got to be willing to do it. So I love you all. I pray y'all will be back with me next Monday at 7 o'clock. We'll continue this lesson to help you find the will of God for your life, or be able to stay in the will of God for your life. And we'll do our best to build our relationship with the Lord so we can all be in that perfect, not the acceptable will, not the good will, but that perfect will. So until next Monday, continue to pray for me. I continue to pray for y'all. And remember to always watch your back and pray. I love you all. Until next time, peace.